Welcome to the L.T.L. Tutoring Central YouTube channel. My name's Ron Johnson, and this video is another in the How Can I Help My Child Succeed series that I've been doing in the last few weeks. And if you haven't been keeping up, you can always watch the old videos as well. This week I'm talking about the long haul. And what do I mean by that? I mean you have to be prepared for the long haul, which means success may take some time. Even progress may take a long time for some children at certain stages. Not every child, and for that matter not every adult, learns in the same way or learns at the same pace. Now, unfortunately in school, if you are in grade 4, you are supposed to meet the curriculum guidelines and the goals that are intended for grade 4. But not every student at that age level or in that grade is ready to learn the material that is expected. Now, in the schools, they have IEP programs, they have teachers' assistants and resource rooms. They do try to help balance the scales a little bit for those that are struggling, but it's very difficult with the numbers of students that they have. So at home, you have to be prepared to give that extra help, but also to be patient, because some children, some students need a lot more time than others. Some need a lot more explanation and examples. Some need alternative explanations and examples. And for this you can access the internet. You can watch YouTube videos, go to various sites like Khan and others that have videos on specific topics and subjects. And sometimes just hearing it from another person or looking at it from a different angle can help the student. Also, I'm going to put a little plug here. Of course, hiring a tutor can be very helpful because an independent tutor deals with a lot of different children of all ages and different learning styles. So he or she normally has a larger toolbox than what might happen in one single grade with 20 or 30 students in the same room and the teacher's trying to do everything. So sometimes that can be helpful as well. I will put a link below to the website and also to the blog for this week, so you can check that out. But at home, you need to just be patient. Realize that it's going to take a long time sometimes. A student can sometimes do very, very well up to a certain grade, and all of a sudden it seems like everything falls apart. And you just have to realize that there are certain plateaus that students sometimes reach. So they may be doing very, 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 very well, and then things sort of level off, or they may even seem to go down. They're usually not really going backwards, but because everyone else is moving on, and they might not be moving on at the same speed, it seems almost like they're falling behind where they were before. Some plateau, and it can last for a very long time. What is really important here is that you do not give up. Never give up. I don't give up on my students. You shouldn't give up on your child or on your learners either. If you're a teacher or a tutor, never give up. Because I think, and I know from experience, of doing this over 20 years, I have seen it happen more than once, many times actually, but sometimes very dramatically, where a student has plateaued even for years. So when I say the long haul, I do mean sometimes it is a very long haul. And that doesn't seem that he or she is getting anywhere. And then all of a sudden, whether it's reading or whether it's understanding certain math concepts, they start to go. And sometimes they can go very, very quickly, and they can learn the material much faster than your average student and catch up. Sometimes they don't catch up. Sometimes they do much better and they're still a little behind. That's okay too. What I want you to do is be patient and allow your child to learn at his or her pace, but keep trying. Keep giving the information. Keep practicing the exercises. If you have to go back to pick up pieces that are missing, you can do that too, but you don't stop. And sometimes students do this because they get frustrated or because they just give up. And unfortunately, sometimes parents do that as well. My child just isn't an academic. He or she just can't do this. Well, you don't know that. It may be just a plateau, and it may be a very long one. So you should continue to try. If you don't try, you won't get there, that's for sure. But if you keep trying, I call it the drip, drip, drip effect. So sometimes I've had a student and he's not reading. I have a specific student who's not reading, not reading, not reading. Technically, he'd gone beyond the so-called window of learning to read. And then, all of a sudden, he started reading. And he wasn't just reading little books with small little words. He was reading novels. They weren't at his age level yet, but they were actual novels with a lot of words in for him. And he was reading it. And yes, he needed help. And yes, sometimes he got things wrong. But he was definitely reading because I tested him. I couldn't believe it myself at first. And he was actually reading, and he was reading fairly well. What happened? Because he wasn't reading at all. And I mean, he really wasn't. Well, what happened, I believe, is that those connections in the brain were being developed. We kept practicing. We kept looking at words. He was turning the pages. He was getting all of the preliminary materials that you need that normally happen a little more automatically when mom and dad read to you or when you start school and you start learning. It wasn't happening automatically for him for a long time. And the scanning wasn't happening for him for a long time, or at least not scanning correctly. All of those bits and pieces, however, as we kept practicing and practicing, and it seemed futile to some extent. Sometimes I was getting a little frustrated myself because we weren't getting anywhere. It didn't seem like we were getting anywhere. And then, bang, all of a sudden, it all started. And it could not have happened at that moment without everything that happened before. If we had given up years before, it never would have happened. And he would never have become a reader. And now he reads all the time. He loves reading. So, and he's an adult now. I'm talking about a long time ago. So it is possible. And in other cases, I've seen not quite as dramatic, but I've seen math, I've seen reading, I've seen writing skills suddenly improve quite dramatically. And sometimes they start to achieve at the same level or even slightly better than students in their same age or grade category. So never, never give up and always keep trying. Never sit back, never coast, never stop. You always want to challenge yourself because your child can only reach his or her highest goal if he or she keeps trying. If they start coasting or if they start giving up, then you will never know and they will never know how much could have been achieved and how far they could have gone. Sometimes people say, well, my child's not an academic. He or she's not going to become that A+ student or not going to become a rocket scientist or prime minister or president or anything of that nature because that's just not in their genes. It's just not the way they're made. Okay, probably true for a lot of people, really, to be honest, but that's not the point. The point is you want to go as far as you can, and you don't know what you don't know. I've mentioned that before. Until you've really tried and committed yourself 100%, you don't know how far you can go, and you don't know what other doors might be opening for you down the road if you never go down that corridor. If you never go down that road, you won't know what you've missed. So you can, I guess, be happy not knowing, but I think you'd be happier knowing that you've done everything you can and that you're doing your very, very best, and your child is doing his or her very, very best. So I'm going to stop there because I think I've made my point. Stick with it for the long haul. Oh, I forgot to mention something. They will likely fight back. They will likely be stubborn, but you are the adult in the room. So you make sure that they continue. So you love them unconditionally, but that's not an escape from doing homework or from doing the practice. It has to be reasonable, of course, but you want to keep challenging them and you want to keep motivating them and teaching them how to be self-motivators as well, so that they will begin to take a lot of it on themselves as they get older, and you won't have to be constantly nagging at them. They know that it's important. They know that they have to keep trying. But if they fall back, you have to be the strong one, and you have to be the one that takes the brunt of their anger or their frustration or whatever it may be. Trust me, as a tutor, you get it all the time. And later, I have had students either that are still with me or I've seen as adults thank me for not giving up on them, even when they fought back, even when it was difficult for them and for me, sometimes more for me in some ways. But they thank me for that because now they can do things that they would never have been able to do if I hadn't stayed on top of it, or if their parents hadn't been committed to staying on top of it as well. So just remember that the I don't want to just doesn't always fly. It's not a democracy all the time. Even democracies have rules and restrictions. So there are some things that you have to do whether you like it or not. And that sounds brutal, but in fact, the payoff, the reward is so great for them later on, and for you as well when they realize just how much you helped them. So stay strong, keep helping your children, keep loving your children too, and you can help them succeed. It's Ron Johnson from L.T.L. Tutoring Central. I will put a link below to the website and to the blog. If you have any questions, ask away. If you have any comments, like the video if you like. Subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Check out the website, check out Facebook, etc. And I will be talking to you next week. So have a wonderful week. Bye-bye for now.